was going to say things like napping, things like, and I can talk a little bit about napping because it's a double-edged sword, but things like napping, things like trying to sleep in on the weekends, using sleep pills, like over-the-counter sleep aids to try and get to sleep, using things that aren't over-the-counter to try to get to sleep, canceling activities, canceling workouts, skipping them because you're just too tired. So starting to do all of these handicapping activities that are actually detracting from what you really want to be doing, which is building up adenosine during the day. And I know that you and Dr. Matthew Walker talked about how caffeine impacts sleep and how you really want to accrue sleep drive during the day so that you can fall asleep at night. Well, guess what? If you're taking long naps during the day, you're decreasing the sleep drive that you have at the end of the day that helps capitulate you into sleep and keep you asleep. Mm-hmm. And if you never used to take naps because you used to sleep fine, because you didn't used to do all these other things, it's kind of this feed-forward process. And like you've talked about on many podcasts, caffeine, I don't have a problem with caffeine, but if you're drinking it later in the day, it's still very much active when you're trying to go to sleep. It messes with all kinds of things. Similarly, you might develop patterns of using your bright computer screen very, very late at night when you didn't used to do that before you had a major stressor that happened. So all of these different kinds of behaviors can perpetuate sleep problems. And in the treatment that I do, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, we focus on a bunch of these. We focus on sleep hygiene, something called stimulus control. We focus on something called sleep restriction, which is not sleep deprivation. I'll mention that in a minute. Cognitive techniques, and then relaxation techniques. So the sleep hygiene I just went over. Stimulus control is going back to basics with the bed. Nothing in bed except for sleep or sex. That's it. No listening to podcasts, no watching TV, no fighting with your spouse, no wondering where your kid's going to apply to college. None of that stuff.
No iPads, social media.
None of it in bed. Stimulus control. The only thing we do in bed.
No phones in bed.
No. Oh my gosh. I've got stories about phones. No phones in bed. Just sleep or sex. And that means that if you can't sleep and you're in your bed and you're laying there worrying, you are violating the rule. You have to get out of bed and you have to go to the couch or go somewhere else and finish your worrying or finish whatever you're doing, and then you can go back to bed. And a lot of people don't like that. They think it sounds so hard and awful. But by the time someone's in my office seeing me for sleep problems, I basically say, look, treatment with me is 5 weeks of your life. How long have you been struggling with this sleep problem? Worth it? I know you've been on my wait list for at least 6, 12 months. So if you've been waiting this long to do this, give it a college try, really do it. How much worse can it get? And there's a really great book that can guide people, by the way, through this whole treatment on their own if you want. And I can give you the link for that.
What's the book called?
It's called Quiet Your Mind and Get to Sleep.
Okay, that's the one I just ordered because you mentioned it. Yeah.
Yes,
I got
great.
2 copies somehow, so I'm giving one to my mom
Outstanding.
because she needs it.
Dr. Rachel Manber at Stanford wrote that book, and the foreword was written by Dr. Richard Bootson, who was the professor from whom I learned this treatment at the University of Arizona. So we've gotten through to, we talked about sleep hygiene, stimulus control, sleep restriction. What that means is we take the amount of time that someone is in bed every night, and we focus on that. Instead of just being in bed doing things, what I do to figure out how long someone should actually be in bed is the first week that they are with me, they're given a wake time. They have to wake up at that same time every single day for 7 days. I always joke with them, any day ending in DAY, you have to get up at that time. Includes Saturday and Sunday, right? And Dr. Panda spoke all about how important it is to not wake up at different times and how that's like giving yourself artificial jet lag and all that stuff. So I have patients do that for 7 days, but they go to bed whenever they're tired, whenever they're actually sleepy. And we calculate how much time each night, on average, are they sleeping. And over the course of that week, we get an average per night amount of time that they're sleeping. Let's say that it turns out that on average you sleep 7 hours a night, and that your wake time is 8 a.m. That would mean that in order to figure out what your bedtime should be, I work backwards from 8 a.m. I go from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. And then I add 30 minutes of grace because that's what we do. And so then I would say, Rhonda, your bedtime is the bedtime of your childhood dreams. Your bedtime is 12:30 at night. You get to stay up all the way till 12:30. And guess what? Not only do you get to stay up that late, you can't go to bed before then. You have to go to bed at that time or after once you're sleepy. And what this actually does is this restricts the amount of time that people are in their bed to the amount of time that they can actually sleep. And pretty quickly, patients will start to get pretty darn good quality sleep during that 7.5 hours. For the first few weeks, it's a struggle bus. They're getting out of bed when they can't sleep, getting back in bed, et cetera. But eventually, they're getting pretty deep sleep during that time, pretty good sleep, because they're building up so much sleep pressure during the day. And then during treatment, we extend it back by 15 minutes a week as they demonstrate that they can keep their efficiency at least 85%. What is efficiency? The amount of time that you're sleeping divided by the total amount of time that you're in bed. And we have patients keep detailed sleep logs about that. There's an example log in that book that you just ordered. So we do that sleep restriction. Then we do the cognitive techniques where we work with people's worries and thoughts and how those serve them and how they don't, and how reflective of reality they are and how much they need to be changed.